The massive Imperial ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Its golden hull gleamed in the distant sunlight, dwarfing the human observation stations that monitored the system's outer boundary. Inside the Earth Defense Fleet's command center, Admiral James stood straight, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of multiple screens showing the alien vessel. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, sir," reported Lieutenant Tom from his communication station. "The translation software is processing their message." The Admiral nodded, his gray hair catching the light. He had trained for this moment for 30 years, ever since humanity had detected the first signs of the Galactic Empire's expansion in their direction. Earth had carefully hidden its true military strength, presenting itself as a young spacefaring race while secretly preparing for any outcome. The translated message appeared on the main screen. "Greetings, inhabitants of Sol system. We represent the Grand Galactic Empire, rulers of 10,000 worlds. We come to offer you the privilege of joining our eternal dominion." Admiral James exchanged looks with General Smith, the head of Earth's ground forces. They had expected this. The Empire always began with diplomatic contact before showing their true colors. "Send our prepared response," James ordered, "and make sure our stealth satellites maintain their cover." Earth's message was careful and diplomatic. "We welcome peaceful contact, but wish to maintain our independence. We advise careful consideration before any hostile actions. Humanity has a long history of warfare, and we prefer peace but stand ready to defend ourselves." The Imperial ship's response came quickly. On the video feed, Commander Marcus of the Empire appeared. He looked almost human, except for his golden skin and slightly larger eyes. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "How amusing," Marcus said, his translated voice smooth and confident. "Your species barely has a presence beyond your moon, and you dare to warn us. The Empire has conquered civilizations that spanned hundreds of systems. Your primitive ships and weapons would not last a day against our might." Behind Admiral James, screens showed Earth's hidden defenses activating. Cloaked satellites tracked the Imperial vessel, while underground silos across Earth prepared their contents. But none of this showed on the surface. To the Empire, Earth appeared just as they expected, a primitive world with basic space capabilities. "Commander Marcus," James replied calmly, "history teaches us that underestimating an opponent is dangerous. We have observed your empire's expansion. We know your tactics. This is your final warning. Seek peace with us as equals, or face consequences you cannot predict." The Imperial commander laughed. Around him, his bridge crew joined in. To them, this was routine. They had performed this act countless times: intimidate the primitive species, demonstrate their power, and add another world to their collection. "Your bravery is noted," Marcus said, his tone now condescending. "But the Empire does not treat with primitives as equals. You will receive our terms for your surrender within one planetary rotation. Resist, and we will demonstrate why the Empire has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years." As the transmission ended, Admiral James turned to his staff. "They're following their standard protocol. Next comes their show of force." His voice was steady, but there was sadness in it. "Initiate Defense Plan Alpha. Alert all commands. The Empire has made their choice." General Smith spoke up. "Should we reveal our orbital defenses now? It might make them reconsider." James shook his head. "No. Let them think they found easy prey. They've ignored our warning. Now they'll learn why every human child knows the story of Troy and its wooden horse." Across Earth, hidden military bases activated. Ships that appeared to be civilian stations transformed into warships. What the Empire saw as primitive satellites concealed weapons beyond their expectations. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, learning from their own bloody history to create defenses that combined deception with overwhelming force. The Empire had dismissed humanity's warning as the empty threats of a primitive race. They would soon learn that humanity's gift for warfare had not diminished in their journey to the stars. It had evolved. Admiral James watched the Imperial ship on his screen and whispered, "We warned you to run." The colony on Mars never saw the attack coming. Imperial ships appeared above the main dome, their weapons already charged. Commander Marcus watched from his flagship's bridge as his gunners took aim at what he thought was humanity's most advanced settlement. "Let them witness the Empire's power," he ordered, smiling. "Target their life support systems. Once they start dying, Earth will surrender quickly." The Imperial ships opened fire. Energy beams struck the dome, causing explosions that ripped through the Martian colony. Emergency alarms blared as atmosphere vented into the thin Martian air. Inside the colony, families ran for the underground shelters. Not everyone made it. On Earth, Admiral James watched the attack through satellite feeds. His hands gripped the command chair so hard his knuckles turned white. Around him, his crew worked in angry silence as casualty reports came in. "Sir," Lieutenant Tom reported, his voice shaking, 37 civilians dead, hundreds injured. James pressed a button on his chair. "This is Admiral James to all Earth Defense Commands. The Empire has attacked our Mars colony. Authorization code: Sleeping Giant. Across Earth, hidden doors opened in mountains and deserts. Underground bases that had been secret for decades activated their systems. What looked like ordinary cargo ships in orbit suddenly dropped their disguises, revealing advanced warships." Commander Marcus was still celebrating his victory when his sensor officer shouted in alarm. "Sir, multiple ships appearing around Earth. They're coming out of nowhere." Marcus rushed to the screen. His golden face paled as he watched hundreds of warships appearing where moments ago there had been nothing. These weren't the primitive vessels he had expected. These ships bristled with weapons that his sensors couldn't even identify. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their technology was primitive. We checked." On Earth's moon, massive hangar doors opened in craters that the Empire had dismissed as natural formations. A fleet of sleek, black ships emerged, their hulls covered in stealth material that made them nearly invisible even at close range. "This is Admiral James to all ships." The transmission went out on all frequencies. "The Empire has chosen war. Show them why we warned them to run." Earth's fleet moved with precision that shocked the Imperial forces. Their formations were perfect, their tactics unlike anything in Imperial records. These weren't the actions of a primitive race. This was the product of thousands of years of warfare, refined and adapted for space combat. Commander Marcus frantically ordered his ships to regroup, but it was too late. The first wave of Earth's attack hit his fleet like a hammer. Weapons that the Empire had never seen before cut through their shields as if they weren't there. "How?" Marcus demanded as another of his ships exploded. "How did they hide all this?" The answer came in a transmission from Admiral James. "You thought we were primitive because we didn't expand aggressively like your empire. The truth is, we remembered our own history. We know the cost of war. While you conquered peaceful races, we prepared. While you grew complacent, we studied. Every primitive satellite was a weapon in disguise. Every simple cargo ship was a warship waiting to strike." Earth's fleet surrounded the Imperial ships. Their black hulls seemed to swallow the light from the sun, making them look like holes in space itself. "This is your final warning," James continued. "Retreat now. Return to your empire. Tell them what you found here. Tell them why we warned you to run." Marcus looked at his tactical display. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. The others were surrounded. In just 10 minutes, humanity had done what no other race had managed in 10,000 years. They had defeated an Imperial attack force. As he ordered his remaining ships to retreat, Marcus finally understood. Humanity hadn't been primitive. They had been preparing, and now the Empire had awakened something that had been waiting patiently in the darkness of space. The real war was about to begin. 3 weeks after the Mars attack, the Empire's reinforcement fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. 500 ships strong, it was the largest force Commander Marcus had ever led. This time, he was ready for humanity's hidden fleet. Or so he thought. Full scan of the system, Marcus ordered from his new flagship. His previous one was still being repaired after the last battle. Find their stealth ships before they find us. But the scans showed nothing. The space around Earth seemed empty, with only civilian traffic moving between planets. Even the warships that had decimated his first attack force were gone. They're hiding again, Marcus growled. Spread out the fleet. They can't hide forever. As his ships moved forward in formation, Admiral James watched from a hidden command center deep under the Pacific Ocean. Around him, officers tracked every Imperial ship through sensors hidden in asteroids and space debris. They never learn, James said quietly. Begin Operation Ghost. Across the solar system, small groups of human ships emerged from hiding places the Empire would never have thought to check. Some had been disguised as chunks of space rock. Others had been hiding in the atmospheres of gas giants. A few had even been trailing behind Imperial ships, matching their engine signatures perfectly. The first Imperial ship disappeared without a warning. Then another, and another. Report, Marcus shouted as alerts flashed across his bridge. Where are they attacking from? His sensor officers scrambled to respond, but the humans were using tactics the Empire had never seen. Small groups of 3 or 4 ships would appear, strike with devastating precision, and vanish before the Empire could respond. Sir, his tactical officer called out, we've lost contact with Beta Squadron. They were guarding our rear flank. Marcus spun to look at the tactical display. 20 ships, gone in an instant. As he watched, more ships winked out of existence. The humans weren't fighting like any race the Empire had encountered. They didn't mass their forces for grand battles. Instead, they struck from the shadows, turning the vast emptiness of space into their hunting ground. On Earth, James received reports from his attack groups. Team 7 reporting. 3 Imperial heavy cruisers destroyed. No casualties on our side. Team 12 here. Disabled their supply ships using the new EMP weapons. Enemy crews evacuated and picked up by our rescue vessels. This was humanity's true strength, not just their hidden technology, but their way of fighting. Thousands of years of guerrilla warfare on Earth had taught humans how to fight opponents many times their size. Marcus tried to rally his forces, ordering them to form defensive circles, but the humans had studied Imperial tactics for years. They knew exactly how the Empire would respond. Look at their formation, James told his officers. They'd bunch up when threatened, just like ancient armies formed squares against cavalry. Time to show them why that doesn't work in space. Human ships launched clouds of tiny drones, each barely larger than a car. The drones slipped through the gaps in Imperial defenses, attaching themselves to enemy ships. Some disabled weapons, others disrupted communications. Many simply gathered intelligence. This is impossible, Marcus said as his fleet fell into chaos. We are the Imperial Armada. We don't lose like this. A message flashed on his screen. It was Admiral James again. Commander Marcus, your ships are scattered. Your formation's broken. You've lost a third of your fleet, and we haven't even shown you our main force yet. We're giving you one more chance. Retreat. Marcus looked at his tactical display. The humans were right. His mighty fleet was in shambles, defeated by an enemy he couldn't even see properly, an enemy that fought like shadows and struck like lightning. As he gave the order to retreat for the second time, Marcus realized that the Empire hadn't just underestimated humanity's technology. They had underestimated humanity's creativity, their ability to turn space itself into a weapon. The Empire had started this war expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had awakened humanity's ancient warrior spirit, refined by technology, and unleashed among the stars. 1 month after Commander Marcus's second retreat, the Empire launched its largest attack yet. 1,000 ships filled the space around Jupiter, their golden hulls forming a wall of metal that stretched for thousands of kilometers. But this time, something was different. The Empire's ships had new shields, New weapons, they had studied the human tactics and adapted. "Let them come," the Empire's Grand Admiral told Marcus over the command channel. "We've analyzed their technology. We're ready." Marcus wasn't so sure. 2 defeats had taught him not to underestimate humans. But orders were orders. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, Admiral James received word of the massive Imperial fleet. He smiled for the first time since the war began. "They've committed their main force," he said to General Smith. "Time for Phase 3. Smith nodded. "Shall I wake them up?" "Wake them all up." Across Earth, massive doors opened in the ocean floor. From the depths rose humanity's true fleet. Not the small strike forces they had used before, but the real war machines. Ships larger than cities emerged from underwater bases, their hulls still dripping with seawater. In orbit, automatic construction yards that had been disguised as space stations revealed their true purpose. They had been building weapons for decades, preparing for this moment. "Sir," Marcus's sensor officer shouted, "something's happening on Earth." Marcus rushed to the screen. His eyes widened as he watched humanity's full military might emerge. The small ships they had faced before had been just the scouts. These new vessels dwarfed anything the Empire had ever built. "Impossible," the Grand Admiral whispered over the command channel. Their planet couldn't hide this many ships. But they had. In deep ocean trenches, inside hollow mountains, buried under the sands of great deserts, humanity had turned their entire planet into one giant hidden base. Admiral James stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force's true flagship, a vessel called Hope's Edge. Around him, crews prepared for battle with the calm efficiency of those who had trained their entire lives for this moment. "This is Admiral James to all Earth forces," he broadcast. "The Empire thought they knew our strength. They thought they had learned our tactics. Show them how wrong they are." The human fleet moved as one. But these ships didn't hide. They didn't use guerrilla tactics. They didn't need to anymore. Waves of automated drones launched from the larger ships, forming intricate patterns in space, each drone linked to the others, creating a vast network that could think and react faster than any organic crew. "What are they doing?" Marcus asked as he watched the drone swarms approach. His answer came in the form of a new transmission from James. "You adapted to our previous tactics, so we'll show you something new. Humanity has spent centuries dreaming up ways to fight wars. We've only shown you a fraction of what we can do." The drone swarms struck first. They didn't attack the Imperial ships directly. Instead, they created artificial gravity wells, disrupting the Empire's formations. Ships that had been flying in perfect order suddenly found themselves pulled in different directions. Then the main human fleet opened fire. Their weapons weren't just advanced. They were beyond anything the Empire had thought possible. Beams of energy that bent around shields. Missiles that could think and adapt mid-flight. Weapons that didn't just destroy ships, but temporarily shut them down, allowing human forces to capture them intact. "Full retreat," the Grand Admiral ordered, his voice shaking. "All ships, fall back." But it was too late. The human fleet had positioned itself perfectly, cutting off their escape routes. In just 30 minutes, humanity had trapped the largest Imperial fleet ever assembled. Admiral James opened a channel to all Imperial ships. "Your ships are surrounded. Your weapons are ineffective. Now you understand why we warned you. The question is, how many more must die before your empire learns its lesson?" Marcus looked at his tactical display, watching as more human ships emerged from hiding places all across the solar system. They had never seen humanity's true strength until now. And somehow, he suspected they still hadn't seen everything humans could do. News of the Imperial fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On the Empire's capital world, the High Council gathered in an emergency session. Their golden halls, usually filled with confident voices, now echoed with angry shouts and fearful whispers. 3 fleets. One council member shouted. 3 fleets lost to a single primitive world. Commander Marcus stood before them, his uniform still bearing scorch marks from his last battle. He had been summoned to explain how the mighty empire had failed so completely. "They are not primitive," he said quietly. "We were wrong. Humans are unlike any species we've encountered. On 100 worlds, alien races watched recordings of the battles. They saw Imperial ships, once thought invincible, falling before human weapons. Species that had lived under Imperial rule for generations began to whisper of freedom. Admiral James received the reports of unrest spreading through the Empire with mixed feelings. "They're tearing themselves apart," he told his staff. "But that makes them more dangerous, not less." He was right. The Empire's response to the growing chaos was brutal. They cracked down on any worlds showing signs of rebellion. But this only made things worse. "Help us." The message came from the bright star system, where a peaceful race called the Lights lived. "The Empire is destroying our cities to keep us in line." James turned to his command staff. "What do you think? Should Earth get involved?" General Smith nodded. "We didn't want this war, but now we have a responsibility. We've shown the galaxy that the Empire can be beaten." Earth's response was swift. Human ships appeared in the bright star system, their black hulls striking fear into the Imperial forces. But this time, they came not as destroyers, but as protectors. "This is Admiral James of Earth," his message broadcast to the Imperial ships attacking the Lights. "You have 10 minutes to retreat. After that, we will respond with force." The Imperial ships, having heard what happened to their main fleet, didn't wait 10 minutes. They fled immediately. Word of Earth's intervention spread even faster than news of their victories had. More worlds began to call for help. The Empire found itself fighting not just humans, but a growing rebellion sparked by human success. In his private chambers, Marcus watched it all unfold. He remembered his first encounter with humans, how they had warned the Empire to run. Now he understood why. Humans hadn't just been warning about their military might. They had been warning about their ability to inspire others to fight back. "Sir," his aide reported, "we're receiving reports of Imperial ships refusing to fight. Some are even deserting to join the humans." This was humanity's greatest weapon. Not their advanced technology or clever tactics, but their ability to show others that resistance was possible. Every alien race that had suffered under Imperial rule saw Earth as proof that even the mighty could fall. Admiral James stood on the bridge of Hope's Edge, watching as representatives from 20 different alien species arrived for a meeting. Each had broken free from Imperial control, inspired by Earth's example. "We want to learn from you," they told him. "Not just how to fight, but how to be free." James thought carefully before responding. "Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy like the Empire did. We want to help you defend yourselves, to stand together as equals." The alien representatives looked at each other in surprise. No species with Earth's power had ever offered partnership instead of dominance. Back on the Empire's capital, the High Council received a final report. A quarter of their territory had already declared independence. Their fleet was in shambles. And worst of all, more ships were arriving at Earth every day. Not to attack, but to join them. The Empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was facing something worse than defeat in battle. It was facing the end of fear, the force that had held its power together for so long. And it had all started because they hadn't heeded a simple warning. They should have run. The Imperial capital world burned, not from weapons, but from riots in the streets. After losing half their territory in just 2 months, the Empire's control was slipping away. In their golden palace, the High Council made their final desperate plan. "Gather every ship we have left," the Empire's ruler, High Lord Rex, commanded. "We will crush Earth and show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us." Commander Marcus stood silently at the back of the council chamber. He had tried to warn them, had tried to tell them that throwing more ships at Earth wouldn't work, but they wouldn't listen. In Earth's command center, Admiral James reviewed the intelligence reports. "They're gathering their forces," he told the assembled leaders of the free worlds. every ship they have left. The alien representatives looked worried. Even with their combined fleets helping Earth, the Empire's remaining forces were huge. They had stripped their remaining worlds of defenses, gambling everything on one final battle. "How many ships?" asked the leader of the Lights, her gentle glow flickering with concern. 5,000 Imperial vessels, James replied. The largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The room fell silent. Earth and its allies had only 2,000 ships. Even with superior technology and tactics, those odds were dangerous. But James smiled. "Don't worry. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for a very long time." Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, hidden shipyards had been working at full speed. As the Empire gathered its forces, humanity unveiled its newest weapons, ships that combined human innovation with technology shared by their new allies. "All hands, battle stations," James announced from his flagship. Around him, the combined fleet of Earth and its allies moved into position. The new ships took their places, their crews a mix of humans and aliens working together. The Imperial fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. 5,000 golden ships filled the void, their weapons charged. At their center was the Imperial throne ship, carrying High Lord Rex himself. "Surrender now." Rex's message boomed across all channels, "and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will destroy everything you have built." James looked at the alien representatives on his bridge. Each nodded in turn. They had all agreed. No more running, no more hiding. It was time to end the Empire's reign of terror. "This is Admiral James of the Earth Defense Force," he replied. "We gave you a warning once before. We told you to run. Now we give you one last chance. Surrender, and we will show you the mercy you never showed others." High Lord Rex laughed. "You dare to offer us mercy? We are the Empire. We have ruled for 10,000 years. We do not surrender." "As you wish." James turned to his tactical officer. "Launch Operation Freedom." Across the solar system, hidden weapons platforms activated. The asteroids that the Empire had ignored revealed themselves as massive gun platforms. The space between the two fleets lit up with defensive shields that humanity had prepared years ago. The Imperial fleet charged forward, their numbers seeming unstoppable. But humanity had learned from every battle. They knew Imperial tactics, Imperial weaknesses, Imperial pride. The combined fleet split into smaller groups, each led by human commanders who had proven themselves in earlier battles. They didn't try to match the Empire's numbers. Instead, they turned space itself into a weapon. Artificial gravity wells appeared, trapping Imperial ships in killing zones. Automated drones swarmed their targets, not to destroy but to disable. Earth wasn't fighting for destruction anymore. They were fighting to end the war with as little bloodshed as possible. Commander Marcus watched from his ship as the carefully laid Imperial plans fell apart. He saw human ships moving with impossible precision, their alien allies matching their tactics perfectly. This wasn't just Earth fighting anymore. This was the future of the galaxy working together. The final battle for freedom had begun. And this time, there would be nowhere for the Empire to run. The battle that changed the galaxy forever lasted just 6 hours. High Lord Rex watched in horror as his mighty fleet fell apart section by section. Human tactics and technology, combined with the determination of their alien allies, proved unstoppable. "How?" Rex demanded, his golden throne room shaking as another blast hit his ship. "How can they predict our every move?" The answer came from Commander Marcus, who stood watching the battle displays. "Because they spent centuries fighting themselves," he said quietly. "Every trick we know, they invented. Every tactic we use, they perfected. We never stood a chance." Admiral James directed the battle from Hope's Edge, his movements calm and precise. The combined fleet moved like dancers in space, each ship knowing its exact role. When Imperial ships surrendered, human vessels quickly moved in to protect them from the crossfire. "Sir," Lieutenant Tom reported, The Imperial line is breaking. Their center formations are in chaos. James nodded. This was the moment they had planned for. All ships, execute final protocol. The human fleet's newest weapons activated. Not guns or bombs, but massive devices that created zones where ships couldn't use faster than light travel. The Empire's retreat was cut off. They were trapped in normal space, forced to face the consequences of their actions. High Lord Rex's throne ship tried to run, but found itself surrounded by Earth's allies, the very races the Empire had oppressed for so long. The ship's golden hull, once a symbol of Imperial power, was now scared and darkened. "This is Admiral James to High Lord Rex," the transmission cut through all channels. "Your fleet is defeated. Your empire is in ruins. Surrender now and let this end." In his throne room, Rex looked at his tactical displays. 4,000 of his ships were destroyed or captured. The remainder were surrounded. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years had been broken in less than 3 months. Rex's voice shook. "I surrender." The words echoed across every ship in both fleets. The greatest empire in known space, defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. But humanity's victory came with mercy. "All ships, cease fire," James ordered. "Begin rescue operations. Save everyone you can." The aftermath of the battle brought more surprises for the Imperial survivors. Humans didn't execute their prisoners. They didn't demand revenge. Instead, they offered help, medical care, and a chance for a new beginning. 1 week later, representatives from 100 worlds gathered on Earth. They met not in a palace of gold, but in a simple building of glass and steel overlooking the ocean. High Lord Rex, now simply Rex, sat in a plain chair like everyone else. Admiral James addressed the gathering. "The war is over. Now comes the harder part, building peace." The plan humanity proposed shocked everyone. Earth didn't want to create a new empire. Instead, they suggested a council where all worlds would have an equal voice. Former imperial worlds would keep their independence, helped by Earth and its allies until they could stand on their own. Commander Marcus, watching from his seat, finally understood. Humans hadn't just been better at war, they had been planning for peace all along. 10 years later, the galaxy was transformed. The Council of Free Worlds met regularly on different planets. Trade flowed freely between stars. Former imperial citizens learned to live without fear, while their former subjects learned to live without hate. In a quiet garden on Earth, James, now retired, sat with Marcus, who had become the representative of his people to the council. "You know," Marcus said, looking at the peaceful scene, "when you first warned us to run, we thought you were threatening us. But you were trying to save us from ourselves, weren't you?" James smiled. "Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the war, but in how you build the peace that follows." Above them, ships from 100 worlds moved peacefully through Earth's sky. Not golden ships of empire, but ships of all colors and shapes, each representing a free people in a free galaxy. Humanity had changed the stars forever, not through conquest, but by showing the galaxy a better way forward. The empire was gone, and in its place stood something far stronger. Unity born of respect, not fear. The end.